We are hearing from the judge that he has fined Donald Trump $1,000 for each violation of order. Karen Agnifilo-Friedman, this is incredibly significant because we were wondering where the judge's decision was. What do you make of what he's decided, how he's decided to carry this out?
So it's not surprising that he held Donald Trump in contempt and violating the gag order, because it was very clear that he did violate the gag order multiple times and continued to. The judge, however, was taking his time to write a written decision, which I look forward to reading and talking about when I see it. And that's what he has decided to how to handle this, and I'm sure he's warning Donald Trump what he can and cannot do in the future. Notably, he did start the morning saying you can go to your son's graduation before he held him in contempt, which, if you recall, Caitlin, prior to this, he never said he couldn't go. He just said, I'll let you know whether or not you can go. And today he's letting him know.
Despite Trump claiming publicly that he had barred him from it.
Correct, exactly.
I mean, what do you make of that in the timing? Because he started with the good news, and then he got to, well, I have also found that you have violated this gag order, and I'm going to fine you. Obviously, $1,000 for each violation. We'll see how many, if it's all 10 of them. And we're told by Jeremy Irv that Trump did not visibly react as the judge was reading this decision, Paula. But I think the question has always been, what will actually deter him from violating it?
So one of the things that could deter him are conservative voices suggesting that he should stop violating the gag order and use that time at the microphones to campaign. And something we have seen over the past few days is just that. Now, it doesn't mean that the targets of his ire, like Michael Cohen, and at least one of the prosecutors who used to work in the Biden Justice Department, are not going to face any criticism. But we saw last week they were getting sort of creative in their way to work around, instead relying on GOP allies on the Hill to amplify some of these complaints that Trump and his lawyers have about one of the prosecutors, about the judge. That is one of their creative attempts to get around the gag order.
Yeah. And Jake, obviously a notable moment here is the Trump team was also waiting to see how the judge was going to handle this. And he started off the first morning of this trial this week by saying, yes, the prosecutors did meet the burden of proof here.
Yeah, that's right, Caitlin. And then let's dive into all of that. And Laura Coates, as we await the hearing beginning today, Gary Farrow is back on the witness stand right now, and the judge has called for the jury to be brought into the courtroom. And when that testimony begins, we will bring you those updates, one after the other. But Laura, looking at what Donald Trump posted on Truth Social, his comments where he was either retweeting, requoting, talking about the jury, talking about the quote-unquote two sleazebags who were witnesses, there really wasn't any factual matter about whether or not he had violated the gag order. It was just a question, I suppose. Here's the Michael Avenatti post. Michael Avenatti, of course, famously one of Trump's nemeses, but here he is. He's in prison, may possibly be angling for a pardon should Donald Trump be reelected. And Donald Trump on April 10th said, thank you to Michael Avenatti for revealing the truth about two sleazebags who have, with their lies and misrepresentations, cost our country dearly. I'm not going to go through all 10 of the alleged violations of the gag order, but or 9, I'm told. But it's not really a question as to whether or not he violated it. He was told he was not allowed to talk about witnesses, and there he is talking about witnesses.
Which poses the question, why would it have taken so long then for the judge to come to this conclusion? We knew that the writing was on the wall. It was an inevitable conclusion based on what you're saying and beyond. And by the way, the words, thank you, Michael Avenatti, coming out of the mouth of Donald Trump is just really fascinating to think about for a lot of reasons.
Just to remind people, Michael Avenatti represented Stormy Daniels.
Oh, didn't he famously have a huge poster board, I think, of Michael Cohen or Donald Trump's face and bring it on air to say, where is your client? I want to talk to this person about these issues.
But by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm going to be doing that throughout the show because of the news.
I've got kids. They do the same thing. It's fine.
I got news coming in from the courtroom. Again, if anybody in New York who has control over the judicial system wants to let cameras into the courtroom, please do. I don't like interrupting people. The judge just told Mr. Trump to take down all of the offending posts.
Wow, now that's significant, especially now. It's been 10 minutes and the court has resumed. He's made these decisions already. He knows he has another hearing coming on Thursday. There are 4 additional violations. This is going to be a stark warning. The question will be, of course, whether $1,000 per fine is going to be him saying, okay, thank you, put it on my tab, I can do that, or will jail time be an actual incentive for him not to do something about it? It works 2 ways, though, right? Of course, you have a judge's order saying that he must remove them from Truth Social and 2 offending posts from his campaign website. by 2:15 p.m. today before court is out of session, which I note the judge wants to be able to look and see if he in fact is complying before he leaves his site. I would suspect it would have more consequence if it does not. But again, the graduated risk of having jail time over your head would be the ultimate penalty. This is a former president of the United States. Will that happen? It's unlikely.
Ellie?
Yeah, this was an obvious call. These were straight down the middle violations. There was no gray area, or, well, you could see it either way. The only question for me is, why did it take this long? But now the judge has ruled. And I think the bigger question is, what happens next time? What happens if Trump posts more of these attacks on witnesses and jurors and other people who are off limits? I mean, the judge, in his defense, I guess, has very limited tools. I agree with you, Laura. There's no realistic way the judge is going to imprison Donald Trump over gag order violations.
Our team in the courtroom, Kara Scannell, is sending this in. She says, defendants hereby warned the court will not tolerate continued willful violations of its lawful orders, and that if necessary and appropriate under the circumstances, it will impose an incarceratory punishment.
Yeah.
So he's laying down the law. He's literally saying that I will draw a line somewhere. There you go.
Bill Brennan, do you disagree with the judge's move here at all?
No, and I think Judge Merchan is unfairly taking heat for the delay. Having spent some time in that room with him, he's a contemplative man. He's very deliberate, but he's also in a tough spot, Jake. He has a unique defendant here, a former president, first time in history. And the idea of jail could have an amazing ripple effect. So what he may be doing is he's probably balancing, let's get this trial close to a verdict. Let me dribble out the $1,000 per count. Let me see if that works. And it's a sliding and ascending scale. What he could do, though, Jake, because Judge Merchan suffers no fools, he could, if this continues to happen, say, well, here's how we're going to do it. We're going to finish the trial, and when the trial is over, regardless of the verdict, you're going to spend a couple days in jail. I mean, he could do it. So, but if he does it during the trial, it's anarchy.
Somebody, I don't know if it was you or a different person who had previously served as an attorney for Trump, but somebody said a different way that Judge Merchan could do it is not tell the defense who the witnesses are the next day or the day after that as another punitive measure, saying we don't know, you can't get your client under control, therefore we're no longer going to tell you who the witnesses are ahead of time, which would put them litigiously in a disadvantage.
Well, as Ellie will back me up, anytime you're in a trial, Ellie was a former prosecutor, you'd like to get a complete list of witnesses. And it's a subjective thing. Sometimes it's case specific or prosecutor specific, where some prosecutors will just say, here's day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. That didn't happen in this case. From what I understand, there was some concern about these tweets and these statements. So I think they were giving the next day's witness.
Yeah.
But it's important that the defense know who's coming up, because you have to prepare for that particular witness the night before.